Gotta represent all the time. Hey everyone, welcome to Revolutionary Health. I'm Charles Stevens, and I'm the executive director of the Counter Knitter Project, and I'm joined with my good friend
Michael Ward.
Tell them a little. Yeah, tell them a little bit about you.
So I'm an actor, a model, a poet, activist, advocate, all of those wonderful things.
All of those things. And how would you folks find you on social media?
It's really simple now. So you can follow me on social media, Michael Michaelx, the letter X, Ward WARD. Facebook me, Instagram me, all that good stuff.
Awesome, awesome. And as always, if you're watching this on Facebook, please be sure to like us on Facebook. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on YouTube. And we really appreciate it if you would join our email list at thecounternarrative.org. So please, please, please join our email. Like, I feel like I'm always begging people, like I'm a televangelist or something.
As a creative, you have to promote yourself.
Promote yourself. Who do we have with us this evening? Oh, and Johnny told me to say that we're going to try really hard to get to your comments. If we don't get to your comments or questions, please forgive us. Don't get mad at us. We're going to do the best that we can to hear everyone out. I see Art Jackson. Hey, Art.
What up, Art?
Maurice is here. Maurice is with us. I see Bernard. That's all I see right now. So yeah, so we practice grace, practice compassion. Don't be too mad at us if we're not able to get to your comments and so forth. So we're talking about a lot of stuff. So we have three things that I think we're going to talk about. I'm a little nervous because we're going to go in some places that I don't know we've been before. One is breakups and how to navigate breaking up with someone. At Revolutionary Health, we talk a lot about emotional wellness, but we also want to make sure that the conversations we have are very relevant to the experiences of our community. So we thought, I know that I've been hearing a lot of folks kind of talking about breaking up and just like how to get through it, and we thought we'd address that. We also thought we'd talk about community health and like what is the state of Black gay community health right now? Is our community healthy? Is our community not healthy? Like, how do we think about those things? And what does it mean to be healthy? And finally, we wanted to talk about being a creative and finding balance in life and work as a creative. So what does it mean to work a full-time job and then also try to create in your spirit? Like, how do we balance that? And I know me and Michael were having a really great conversation about that. Yeah. So thank y'all for joining us, and I guess we'll just get started. So which one we'll talk about first?
You pick it. I'm rolling with you.
Okay. Why don't we talk about breakups?
Well, we were talking about breakups.
We're talking about breakups. We
might as well. Stay on Facebook.
Stay on Facebook.
Do not drink and get on Facebook. Trust me.
And there's something about music too. Don't play what is it?
No, I think you need music. As somebody who is a lover of music, I think you definitely music can be your friend when you are sitting in the dark with that bottle of Jack Daniels.
Oh, I'm getting a intense visual right now.
No sponsorship for me. But no, I think music is a good comforting thing because there is a song for everything. I say that all the time. Like some of the best songs.
What is the best breakup song? And also, y'all, please let us know in the comments. Like, what's been your experience? Like, how did you heal from a broken heart when you've had that experience? What are some suggestions you might have for other folks that might be going through a breakup or kind of recovering from a disappointment in the romantic life? So please let us know.
My therapist
Art said, "Boom, stay off." I know that's right.
Yes, I'm telling you, stay off Facebook. Don't do it.
Don't get on Facebook.
Don't do it. One of the things I can honestly say for me that has really, really helped me a lot is my therapist. Thank you. Therapy is the way. Revolutionary health. Trust me. Get into therapy. But my therapist told me, she was saying, give yourself permission to grieve. And I had never thought of it before because I was like, honestly, you're mourning the death of a relationship. And a lot of it is you go into it. I think no one goes into a relationship anticipating the end of it. So when it happens, it is, a very devastating thing. And you have to allow yourself permission to grieve the end of the relationship. And allow yourself that time to just reminisce or reflect. Don't get stuck there, but you have to kind of just allow yourself that time to grieve. Not on Facebook.
Not on Facebook.
No.
Not on social media. Get off social media.
Get off social media.
I was telling Michael
Oh
about a few years ago, I was going through a breakup with someone, and I was gonna write this essay about what I learned in this relationship. I'm so glad I didn't do that. I wrote it, but I didn't publish it because I think I was trying to figure out how to make sense of it and how to cope.
It's too early to know the lesson.
Yeah,
it's too early.
It's too early.
You have to give yourself time to learn the lesson.
Bernard Tarver asks, is it better to wallow in misery or lick your wounds and move on? What do you think, Johnny? Bring you into it.
For me, I know that I'm off camera. Give yourself permission, as Michael said.
Johnny says, give yourself permission.
And then lick your wounds. And you got to dust yourself off.
Dust yourself off.
Life.
Y'all are so resilient. I say wallow. I say give yourself permission to heal in whatever way. Don't put a time limit on it. Don't rush it. I mean, I think it has to run its own course. It's like a fever. It has to run its own course. And I think when you try to rush it, when you try to speed yourself up, it may lead to making other choices that may not be optimal.
Be still.
Be still.
I'm telling you, I had a lot of awesome advice from therapy.
Hey, James Lester.
Hey, James, be still. And what I mean by that is take time to be in your feelings. Just be still. You don't have to have it. Like I was saying, it's too early to know the lesson because I think a lot of times we try to, at least for me, I can't say we, but for me, I try to make sense of what is this supposed to teach me? What was this person in my life for? What did all of this mean to me? Overthinking Virgo and all of those things, but you have to be still. There will be no way that you can know the lesson right away. So just take time to be still and to wallow or lick your wounds. Nobody can tell you how to get over it. As long as it's a healthy way, I think then it's absolutely fine. Just don't fall into the self-destructive thing. Been there, done that. A lot of stories
no Jack
to tell you in my 20s about that. Just be still and be aware of it.
I mean, I'll definitely say that and maybe it was just being in my 30s at the time when I was going through this. 30? Don't make fun of me. I was like, what if it gets harder to meet people? I was very, and maybe it comes with when you get older, just feeling more anxiety around meeting people and stuff like that. And the best advice I got was from my friend Michael Gibson. He was like, and kind of near the friend Michael, he was just like, no, keep it moving. Basically, it doesn't end. There's still so many opportunities. There's so many, and I know it's cliche. There other fish in the sea and all that. And then I met my current boyfriend. After some time, and it's just amazing what you just never know. So when you're going through a breakup, you just never know what's around the corner. And then it's you may find the love of your life. You just never know.
It's like that meme though on social media where, it's remember when you thought you would die and look at you living and shit. It really is true. It's it almost feels like, oh my God, this is the end of the world. And then you look up 6 months, a year later, and you're like, okay, I'm living in shit.
So it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. But back to the anxiety thing about it. Why do you think that you feel the anxiety of I'm never going to meet anybody else? Because I think a lot of us feel like that. This was the one. You were it. There's no one better than you.
My favorite one is, I wasted my time. You wasted
because you feel that way. You're like, oh my God, I really That's the worst feeling. You wasted my time.
Bernard, they took us to the master's class. He said, how do you learn to trust again? How do you learn to trust again? Thank you, Bernard. That's deep.
Oh, we need a therapist for that. For me, how do I learn to trust again?
Yeah.
Is depending, I think it kind of depends on the reason for the end of the breakup, because not always is it a trust thing or infidelity or any of those kind of reasons. Sometimes you just grow apart and you realize that, hey, maybe we're moving in different paths. But I think when it comes to the trust again is that you have to realize that first of all, you cannot make this new person pay for what the old one did because that never works out. And that just makes you look like the bitter Betty. and the pessimistic Patty and all of these things. It just totally looks bad. But you have to look at this new person for who they are. Don't project your issues onto this new person and come into it with an open mind and an open heart.
But it's easier said than done.
It's always easier said than done.
It is easier,
but you have to check yourself. You have to check yourself. And it's about, to me, thinking. Because my mind can take me somewhere else and I can look at you and I say, this is the same person in a different body. And you may get into that habit of dating the same person over and over, but you have to still take that person on what their merits are and be open to receive what this person has to.
I mean, in the comments, please let us know, what are your thoughts about how experiences you've had where you might have had your trust violated and you've had to learn to trust again. Like, what's your experience? What have you found to work? We definitely would love to get some wisdom from those of us, those of y'all that are watching.
Let us know in the comments.
Just finally, I think there's so many messages out in the world that turn us against each other, that make us feel like we can't trust each other, that we can't love each other, that we're not worth wanting each other, right? To invoke Joseph Bean and Audre Lorde, for that matter. And I don't know, I think it's just a constant process. Like, I believe that, you know, your emotional health really is kind of like a muscle. It's like you have to keep working on it and working on it. Like, I don't think you ever arrive at some level of, you know, where you're just perfect and you're, you know, I think it's you constantly work on yourself and you look at those experiences as opportunities. But I also realize it's easier said than done. And when you're in that moment, it can be very hard to remember who you are. But I also think having a good support system and being able to talk it out, get it out your head. I think music can be really healing, right?
Yes.
What's been your favorite? So when you've gone through stuff, like what?
Mary J. Blige.
Mary J. Blige. That's your go-to.
My life. Listen, that woman was singing.
That woman was singing about. That's where.
Okay,
your time.
so funny.
So
funny story, right? Because it was not before my time, but I remember my sister had the cassette of Mary J. Blige, My Life. And I was like, this woman cannot sing. I was like, what are we listening to?
But we love Mary J. Blige.
Don't put this in the comments. I am a Mary J. Blige fan. Okay. I absolutely love her. But once again, I'm a little bit younger. So when I first heard her, I didn't understand because I had never been through it. But I remember my very first like real breakup, because you know high school, you're like, okay, you didn't write you didn't write me back before 7 period book. But like my first real breakup where I was like, oh, yes. And I went back and I listened to like the My Life, the entire album. And I was like, this woman was like, listen, this is a love letter. Like she was pouring her heart out to this man.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I just need a little bit of dirt under my fingernails. You know that expression, like a little wisdom, a little bit to be like, oh, wow, like this is really what that feels like. So Mary J. Blige, My Life is always a good one. Adele, 21.
Me too.
That was another one during a nice
What about
breakup.
Erykah Badu's Mama's Gone?
Oh yeah,
like that whole album. Oh my God,
Orange Moon.
Exactly.
But it's still hopeful though, because you want somebody to walk up behind you and kiss you on your neck. Oh yeah.
All right. I hope this was helpful.
Let us know some of your breakup songs, your CDs.
Breakup. Let's do a playlist. Create a playlist. Like this is the playlist for you if you're going through a breakup or going through some stuff. So we're supposed to talk about balance and creatives and stuff. Finding balance. So many of us, you know, we work our full-time job, but we may also write. We may do modeling or acting on the side. We may do music. We may do photography. Like a lot of, you know, especially artists, we might have a full-time gig in addition to our art. And I was just wondering, how have you been able to have balance where you know, are able to make time for your art, for your work, but then at the same time still have the 9 to 5 that takes care of your bills and so forth. And Michael, I know you had some ideas and thoughts about that in terms of.
Honestly, it's about the passion of it for me, because if I'm really passionate about it and it's what I love to do, then I make time for it. I think that's with anything. And it's all these cliche things that we say tonight. If you really want to make it, you know, make time for it. But it is really true. And a lot of it is organization, putting yourself on a schedule. I'll never forget, I had a full-time job and I was in college, undergrad, and I was doing community theater at the time. So I would have to go to work, leave work, go to class, come back to work, finish my job, learn lines, in 2 weeks we had to do August Wilson Fences, and
Fences. Oh my God.
I got to be Corey. So we had to do Fences in 2 weeks. Now, for all of you out there, August Wilson is very dialogue heavy. It is a very dialogue driven, and so it just really was putting myself on a time schedule to say, okay, when you wake up in the morning, you need to learn your lines. When you're in the shower, when you're doing anything, when you're in the car, any of those things, you have to still put that time and that energy and that dedication to it. And discipline, honestly, is the thing that will keep you, because when you're not motivated and you don't feel like it, discipline will be the thing that just says, this is what you love to do and this is what you're building toward. So put that energy in there. And I've always been in the philosophy, if I can give somebody 40 hours for their dream, then I can give myself 40 hours or more than that for my own dream, because you making, you making peanuts off of me. And this is really what I love to do. And that gives me balance, because whew,
how about that? But what about when you're like real tired? Like when you're like long day, your supervisor got on your, not to say that theoretically, your supervisor might have got on your nerves, or your coworkers pissed you off. Like, how do you still go home and make time when you don't feel like you have anything left to give? Like, how do you?
I give myself 30 minutes. Like, here's one of the things I do. I give myself 30 minutes to decompress. Like, when I walk through the door, like, I'm really, like, right now where I'm in this space, I'm really big on self-care. So, like, I'll light candles. I'm such a candle person now. I'll do something to decompress. So set the atmosphere. I'll light a candle. I'll just give myself that 30 minutes. And I'm like, this is what you love to do. And the passion is always what brings me back to it. So even if it's like, we'll say acting, for instance, I had an audition yesterday. Send one up for me. With that,
all right, folks, send Michael positive energy. He had
love and light
audition yesterday. We're gonna be rooting for you.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where I give myself that time to just really separate it, and eventually I find that way of discovering that passion again for it, and that's what gets me into it. Even when I'm tired.
Oh, Daniel says, "Hey, I'm dedicated." Sorry.
Hey, Daniel. When I'm low on energy and I don't feel like it, and modeling is so much harder than people really think that it honestly is. And you have to bring a lot of energy to set. So sometimes you have to fake it until you make it. Like, you'll have that go-to pose or you'll be like, oh my God, you know what? Cool. But it really is the love of it. Like, if you really love to do it, you'll find the passion for it. Easier said than done, but trust me, it works out.
How do you, so let's say with modeling, when you're in those moments where you don't feel like being on, what do you access? Like, what space do you go to be able to get in zone?
Music really does it for you. Like, for me, musical take me there, but sometimes I have to get out of my head and I have to zone out, and I just become this whole different person, which is like how I understand, for all of you out there, this Beyonce reference, how you have to Sasha Fierce it. Trust me, sometimes you have to create the alter ego where you are the bad B-I-T-C-H. I was trying not to say it. Where you just have to, and I can't spell it. Sometimes you really have to just zone out and go into your alter ego. Like, this is all about me. I'm going to do it.
So who's your alter ego?
I used to have Darion Tariq. Don't Google that.
So the first time everybody's going to Google it.
But I used to have Darion Tariq. Okay. That was like my alter ego at the point, and I would like zone out and like he'd take over and do it. But as I've gotten older, I've merged the two. Sounds very psychotic, but I have merged the two into just being like, this is who I am. But it really is. There have been moments where I'm like, be sexy on a beach in November. And I'm like, oh my God.
You're like cold and so.
Wow. And then, but it's something about it. I love to do it. And that's what always brings me back to it. With that.
Bernard says, don't get a soul sucking 9 to 5. I work 3 days a week and get a 4-day weekend to do my writing. I know that's right. Bernard.
Show us the way, Bernard. Please teach us the way. Because I think, to tie it back into health, I think a lot of people, like, my struggle really was being a creative and freelancing was insurance. Like, I was very concerned about insurance. And now with, is it still Obamacare? I know Affordable Care Act. What is it? But a lot of programs and insurance and different things.
Although like Georgia still doesn't have Medicaid expansion, so you can
I mean, really researching, you know, insurance, if that's a concern for you, on how to pay for it. write off expenses, all of those things, because that was one of my biggest concerns about
having
paying
insurance
for doctor visits, paying for medications, paying for all of these things. And it was so much safer to have my 9 to 5 and know that I'm have my insurance, with my benefits
and a steady check,
and a steady check, the 401k that pays for those dreams.
All right, Virgo.
And I have to look at it like that. Sometimes when I do get discouraged, I'm like, Michael, this is paying for your dream. With that. So I think it's a real concern, like with people that are freelancers or 1099s. Ooh, I love when the check comes in the mail. I call it the mailbox money. You just go to that mailbox and it's like, it's a check. Thank you, Jesus. But insurance is like a really big concern, you know, and I've had a lot of friends that have gotten sick and have had to go back to work just to be able to get insurance.
Because I mean, so many Black creatives, I mean, I think we're susceptible to a lot of structural vulnerabilities. I mean, so many creative folks, it's like not having insurance and just not it's just really, and I think that's why sometimes it's hard to sustain a creative career over a period of time, because life happens.
Yeah.
And if you're not able to have the structure, and again, everybody makes different choices. Like, I'm not at all advocating one way or the next. You kind of have to do what's best for you. But I've also seen just many art. I mean, I guess I've seen kind of both sides. But I also think a lot of creatives don't tell the truth. It's like we see them on the other side when they're successful and they have the big art showing, or they have the best-selling book, or, you know, the feature film, but we didn't see what it took to get there and the path. But I think, honestly, Art says Black mental health matters, often neglected. Absolutely. Which is another issue. You know, I think a lot of us that are kind of creative, it's difficult not being depressive sometimes, and you know, you face constant which we were talking about, the rejection piece, the constant rejection.
Get yourself a nice therapist.
How did you find your therapist, Michael?
Okay, so my search for a therapist was really asking a lot of people. Referrals can be the best tool that you can use, because I just had to go to my friends that were in therapy and say, hey, what did you do to find a therapist? And one of my friends, who will remain nameless, put me on this website that pretty much gives you where you can break it down. Like, this is why I love the internet now. You can break down like the specific type of therapist that you like to find.
It's like Jack. It's like Jack, but for a therapist.
I don't know about those things. I don't know about those things. I don't know about find me on there, the headless profile.
Is that Deontay? What's your alter ego?
GTQ.
Deontay's up there.
But yeah, so switching subjects, back to therapy. So I found mine through that way, and I had it's always good to do a few consultations, because you are lucky if you find your therapist off the right off the bat. But for me, I did like a phone consultation. You know, what issues are you dealing with, where you at in life, you know. So I did my initial consultation. I had maybe about 2 or 3, but I was very specific. For me, I wanted a Black woman. I wanted a Black woman because I knew a lot of like my comfort level was with women, and I know women are nurturers. You know, so I specifically was like, I want a Black woman. But to open myself up to the possibility, I did have a Black man, and we had a phone consultation, and I was like, nah, bro, nah.
Well, what happened? What did he say?
It wasn't anything that he did. It's in when it comes to a therapist, sometimes you kind of feel bad when you go for a consultation and you're like, you're never going to see me again. And you kind of feel bad. But honestly, it's all about your comfort level, because you have to be completely comfortable with your therapist, because you are opening up your soul, your psyche, and you don't want to feel preached to. You don't want to feel judged. You don't want to feel weird. You don't want to feel any of those things. So with the guy I had, it just was kind of like, he dealt with gay issues, or he had dealt with Black gay men, but it just was like, it just didn't feel right. And like one of the women that I went to was like, it just didn't feel right. And then my therapist that I currently have now, when her and I met, like I sat on that couch and I was like, bitch, I'm a mess. And I cried like in 10 minutes. I was like, bitch, I am a mess. And I cried in 10 minutes. And she said, let that shit out. And I was like, It's kind of like finding a barber. Like sometimes
yeah.
it's like,
yeah.
it's the same thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
kind of like dating. It's, you know, you got to go through like
a lot of people for you.
got to go through a few of them and like, oh,
We found the right
this is the
match.
nice fit. So I've been with her maybe for about a year, and the one thing that I did learn is when you lie to your therapist, that means that you need a new one. Because I did lie to my therapist, and I felt like if I'm lying to my therapist and you don't know anything about me, then we don't need to be together, because obviously there's like a reason I'm not comfortable with you. So that's
So I
not
have
to
a
work.
confession to make.
You lied to your therapist.
I've never actually had a therapist before.
But you have friends. You can also have informal therapy.
I was like, I should probably pursue that, but I've just never, like, I advocate for mental health. I've just never done it.
Why do you
like,
think so?
I don't know. Maybe my therapist can answer. If I had a therapist that could tell me that.
I think a lot of people, for me, when I was telling people about therapy, and one of my biggest things was like, are they just going to sit there and listen to me talk? But a good therapist will give you homework, because a therapist is not designed to give you the answers. They are designed to give you the tools and the instructions to do and be comfortable in making your own decisions. Wow. But I've noticed friends are very good therapists. They can be very good therapists.
But see, is that unfair to your friends though? Like, where it's like, I just wanted to like ask you if you saw, I don't know, Loving Hip Hop, and then you start going in about your how do you balance that? Because sometimes I do feel like
you gotta navigate
the over.
No, I think if you feel like this person is like unloading on you more than they ask you and stuff about like how your day is, then I think that's when you come with the boundary and saying, hey, listen, I can't be what you need, because obviously, and I've had to do this, and people have cut me off about this because I can whine for 50 minutes at a time. And people have told me they've just put me on speakerphone and walked off.
Oh,
like
no.
One of my informal, this is awesome. Like one of my informal mentors, he's known me since I was 19, and I'm older than that now. And he's known me since 19, and he was like, you just used to whine about every single thing, and I would put you on speakerphone and just walk off. And as I've gotten older, he set boundaries with me where he's like, Michael, I can't be this for you right now. Like, obviously you need to like hit up someone else, or you need to contact your therapist. And a true friend will let you know. They'll let you know when it's too much.
I received that.
Yeah.
I think the final thing we're going to talk about is just community health. And I guess it's related to the topic of rejection and anxiety. Like, so me and Michael, before we started, we're talking about why sometimes we might get anxiety, not personally, but how some Black gay men might get anxiety when being around other Black gay men, like the experience of being at a party or being in a social space, or even being maybe in a professional space, and you're in a room full of Black gay men and you have a lot of anxiety, and why some of us might have that experience. And Michael, do you want to share some insights about that?
Put me on the spot. Well, specifically, I was saying like my fish out of water experience of really dealing with it was, I remember when I went to Sizzle the first time.
Could you explain to our viewers what Sizzle is? Not Sizzler. What, Sizzle?
Oh, Sizzle. So Sizzle is held Memorial Day in Miami. You have an option of going to DC, Miami. You can always come here to Atlanta, join us at Counter Narrative Project. But pretty much Sizzle is like one of the biggest circuit party pride events. I don't really know if it's really considered to be that. But it's pretty much, where thousands of Black gay men come down to Miami and they party for 3 or 4 days. And I don't know what it was this year. I haven't checked it out. But it's just, thousands of Black gay men to come party, convene, commune, fellowship, hang out at the beach. I love water. So like my first experience going, I was like 25, and I was like, oh my God, like, oh, y'all gay? Like, oh, y'all is gay? Mm-hmm. Every last one of y'all like me, and y'all are beautiful. So it was an overwhelming feeling, because it was like, I'm not the only one, although I knew I wasn't the only one. But then low key, it felt like so much competition. Like I felt so anxious about it, because I'm like, it was my own insecurities where I felt like I wasn't good enough. So it was almost like pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. And I hadn't really dealt with out black gay men to that proportion where it was just fabulous and I'm gonna wear my short shorts and my crop tops and all of these things. And I'm like, you can really do this? Like this is really happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it still felt like so much anxiety because I just felt like a piece of me, if that makes sense. Like,
but not in a
even
good way.
coming from modeling is so weird, but it just felt like this for like these 72 hours. Like, I am a piece of meat. Like, it was a lot. And then I think a lot of the pressure that I felt was like to engage in sex, not to engage in sex. Is it fun if I do engage in sex? If I don't engage in sex? All of these different things. Like it was so many
a whole
emotions.
process.
I overthink a lot, if you can't tell. So, but it was like that first experience for me, and it was like the almost kind of like, oh my god, what if they just come around us all up and we all go to jail? It was a lot. It was a lot.
So has it been like that? So obviously Sizzle's a particular culture.
Living in Atlanta, no.
Yeah, is that like
I've got
so like Linux on Saturday or maybe Friday or
it's probably Saturday,
Thursday too, and
I don't know.
So like when you're in these environments where there's just a lot of us, how do you? I think some of us do have a lot of anxiety around being around each other. For
me, I realized that I wasn't in competition.
Hey, Ivan.
Hey,
Good evening to you too.
I realized that I wasn't in competition, and one of the things too that I noticed, which is totally off topic, but it correlates, is that I've got to get better at acknowledging and affirming my brothers when I see them.
Yep.
I've gotten so much better at doing it, but it is sort of kind of like that. When you see other black gay men out, it's almost kind of like, hey, I see you, I acknowledge you, you're beautiful. Like now, I do it more so now that I live in Atlanta. Like, yes,
speak to each other.
Yes. Hey, how are you?
Because a lot of us don't speak to each other. It's like, we'll try to look past, we'll look at our phone. It's like we will not.
Right. It's kind of like, when I see you walk on Martin, I'm like, I know everybody's looking at you in this crop top. And I'm just like, hey, what's up? Like, I acknowledge and affirm that you're there, because I think before, with my own insecurity, it was just, please don't let them find out that I'm gay. Wow. Like it was my own thing about that. And it's one of those things that my personal journey is I've had to walk through with that. But being in Atlanta will break you out of that really quick. It's everywhere.
So I think that should be maybe a homework assignment. Okay, homework assignment. If you see another brother, make sure you speak to him. Don't look at your phone. Don't look away. Don't, tie your shoe. Just speak. Don't, like, I know some of us already do it, so I'm not saying that we don't do it, but for those of us where it might be a little, some of us are introverted, right? So that could be, might be a thing. Art says, classing has always been it for me in the gay community. Bernard says, guys don't acknowledge each other because it's misinterpreting as cruising. Yeah, that's true. Like, I think for some of us, we may not want to, maybe the concern is that if we speak to someone, they'll interpret that as desire or, we're open for business kind of thing. And it's real. That could be.
But you're projecting your own shit on somebody else. Real. Like you're projecting your own stuff on somebody. Like, oh, I don't want to speak to you because I feel like that you're gonna like desire me. Like, what kind of bullshit is that? I mean, it happens, but it kind of ties back to like my meat market and example. It was kind of like, you only want me as a piece of meat. But what if this person doesn't even really find you attractive and they're really talking to you because they're like, I'm really not going to give you my number, but you seem like cool people. I really might like your shoes. And I saw something too today where it was like, I think it was on the Twitter, and someone was saying, why don't men acknowledge other men the way that women do? Like, women can see another woman like, hey, sister, like, I love your hair. I love your shoes. I love your shirt. But I think with Black men in general, like, it's seen as like we're never kind of
I think it's related. Ivan says it's so important to share the love, and I think that's related to what you're speaking of, just sharing the love, and maybe it's worth the risk. Maybe it's worth the risk. So maybe if I speak to another brother, he might misinterpret it. He might think that my intentions are different than just being friendly. He may throw shade. He may not speak back. That's also a possibility. Or maybe it could be powerful. It could be affirming. You
Mhm.
know, like why not just give each other a compliment? I love that you said that. Have you ever just given someone a compliment? Like,
This year I've really done it more. Like I've really done it more. Now that I'm doing the work on myself and acknowledging the things that really that I feel
Mhm.
and I overcome it, then I acknowledge it like
Yeah.
much more. And I'm like, you know, you're really handsome. I really like your shoes or whatever it is. Or hey, how are you? How's your day? I'm a hugger. So like I know some people get really uncomfortable, but I'm like, hey baby, give me a hug. But it comes back to my own thing of like I've lost a lot of people in this journey of being gay to different things that you
Yep.
know I've lost a lot of people. So sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I don't know when is the next time I'm going to see you. And really human contact and human connection, you never know what people are going through. So there have been moments like for me where people come and give me a hug and it's like, oh, I needed that shit today. Like I needed, like I just needed just a human touch affection because so many of us go day to day without touch affection. All of those things I need a hug
Intimacy.
right now. Hit me up.
Yeah, Stephen Fullwood wrote this piece for us very early on called his hugging ministry because he saw it as a ministry. And yeah, you know, as you said, some of us, it could be the only touch we might have received in a while. And, you know, just take a chance. I mean, I think that, you know, when you take a risk, there could be, you know, there's a possibility of great reward in that. But Johnny's giving us a signal to wrap up. So do you have
so soon?
any final words?
Yeah, honestly, y'all engage with us, leave comments, let us know your favorite breakup albums, the things that you all do as far as self-care after breakups, balance.
Clearly it's
being
Michelle
creative.
Cello's what is it?
Comfort Woman, or is it Bitter?
Bitter.
Oh,
that is the iconic breakup.
Baby was hurt. But honestly,
we love Michelle, by the way.
Yeah, honestly, leave those things because there are a lot of other creatives that need to know insurance things, health things. So send them our way. Honestly.
Yeah. Ivan says he's a hugger. Yeah, and if you're a hugger, you know, let us maybe
if you see me in the street, hug me. I'm down for
You're down for it.
Free hugs.
I think it depends on the day. You can always, you know, speak to me. I'm working on being a hugger. I'm working on it. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. And we'll be here next Tuesday at 7. Also, David Melbranch is traveling this week.
Safe travels.
Wishing David safe travels. Wish him safe travels. And all right, y'all. Take care.